Hey guys, it's Holly, and in today's video I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I like to see in babies at 6 weeks old and how I decide to keep and sell babies this young. So what I do typically is I never decide to keep a baby when they're this young, but I do decide to watch them for further evaluation later on. So usually when I do my evaluations, they're about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and 16 weeks. And then at 16 weeks is when I really do the evaluation of, do I want to add this rabbit to my herd for breeding and showing as a senior. I might be looking over here a little bit because I have a couple bunnies hopping around, a couple little babies that I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But first, what I have up here is Baby, and her mom is Holly's Butterfly, and her dad is Holly's Fin. And I'm going to have a page on my website where I show all of my bucks and does and all the rabbits in my Rabbitry. I'll link that down below so you guys can see what rabbits I'm talking about when I mention their parents. So this is Baby, and right now she is the most promising out of her litter. Sorry, this is a little low so that you can see the table and everything, so you might not be able to see my face the whole time. Alright, so I'm going to pose her up and just show you guys what I like to see at this age. So what you see right away is that her body is just super round. And is that a good view? There we go. So what you see right away is she poses very easily, and she might not stay in a pose because she is only 6 weeks old, but what you can see is she does pose on her own very well, and that's the number one thing that I want to make sure babies at 6 weeks old can do. She sits still in a pose, she's very showy, she likes to show off, and so you can see just from the start, she's very round and extremely wide. Her body is just the same width all the way down, and she just is extremely wide, and then she also has width in between her front legs. You get it post like that, you can see the width in between the front legs there. And she doesn't have very good width in between her and her head. You can see her eyes when you're looking at her head on, and you don't want to be able to see their eyes, but since she is a doe, usually they don't get a good head for much later on. Sometimes does have weak heads. But you can see she definitely has the width between the front legs, and that's something that's like a must. I don't want thin chests. That width is very important to me. And then you can also see her front legs. Switch to this view again. Her front legs are very short, and this is called their bone. And her bone is thick, and it is longer than, see now she's holding it up, she's not wanting to pose anymore. And her bone is a little bit long. It could be shorter. You want them to look like stumps without seeing like the ankle or anything like that. And hers are pretty good. And when you'll see her sister in a minute, you'll see what I mean when I'm talking about like being able to see the ankles. But hers is fairly good. It's fairly thick, especially for a baby at this age. She's looking really nice. And then with her head is something that's hard to evaluate at this age because it does change so much over time. But you can see her ears don't go much longer than her chin. Her ears lay flat. She definitely has a good crown. Her ears aren't all up and flying all over the place, you know, like some of her siblings that I'll show you in a minute. So her crown is definitely wide. Her ears lay straight down like they're supposed to, is a lop. And she doesn't have much width between the eye and the ear. You want the crown to be as close to the ear as possible. Now she does have a slipped crown, which means that there is about a finger's width between the ear and the eye, but that's not a huge fault and definitely something that's not making or breaking a rabbit for my herd. If Baby does continue to look like this as she matures, then she's definitely going to be a rabbit that stays in my herd. But the reason why I'm not saying that she definitely is going to at this point is because babies can change so much. from all those stages that I mentioned, from 6 weeks to 8 weeks, 8 weeks to 12 weeks, and 12 weeks to 16 weeks, there can be tons of change, and molting and just different growing patterns and stuff like that. And so at this age, those are just some of the basic things that I do want to see. I want to see the thick bone, the short bone, and width. And the number one thing I want to see is them being able to pose on their own, and being able to hold their head up high like they're supposed to. Another one of the top things I want to be able to see is those ears laying straight down, so that we don't have like crazy ears all up here, you know. So yeah, this is Baby, and I'm going to grab a couple of her siblings and show you guys how I've evaluated them so far and what I'm doing with them. Alright, now I have her brother Dwight with me, and as a buck too, he might not sit still for us very well, but there are some things about him that I'm not loving, like his front legs. They are a little bit longer, a little bit thinner, which is not something that I love, but the things I do love are making me keep him for now. And that is the shape of his ear. It's the perfect shape. You want it to be round at the tip and about like a teaspoon shape, not like super oval, or, sorry buddy, not super oval, not pointed. You want it to be the nice teaspoon shape, which his are, and they're very nicely rounded at the tip. And then he has that same wide hindquarter, wide rounded body that we want to see, or at least that I want to see. But yeah, his legs here are a little bit longer, not as thick as Baby's. So because of that, he may be sold later on, but just from what he's showing me right now, he's showing me enough promise to keep him for now. And then the width between his front legs, also very, very nice, like his sister. And then he can also pose on his own, like I was saying, is a huge deal for me. Let me see if I can get him to do it this angle. Yeah, so you can see he does pose very well, not as long as his sister because he's a buck and he's a little bratty sometimes. And then you can also see he has a very nice crown. He has like half a finger's width between the ear and the eye. His ears are a little more wingy than his sister's are. His crown might be a little more tight, but also the thing is with babies this age, sometimes their ears are going to be more wingy, but then go down very well as the head widens, as the head matures. So that's another thing that it's not a deal breaker for me. Definitely something I want to see is them at least lopping. Like his sister, his other sister that I'll show you in a minute, her ears are just crazy. Alright, the next little girl I have with me is Honeydew. And just from the start, look at her ears. They're kind of all over the place. They don't really lop at all the way, like you saw with her siblings. And they don't, like when you lop them, like they're not going to stay lopped as much as her siblings did. They're not going to lay beautifully down because her crown is just tighter. And then another bigger thing with her is she does not like to pose. She's very tricky to get posed. You can maybe get her to keep her head up, like she almost did there, but you can see her body's nice, but the number one thing about her is that her legs, what you can see right here, like with the ankle, her bone is very fine, and you'll be able to see it better when I turn around to show you the width between her front legs. Her bone is very fine, it's not thick at all, and then she also does have longer front legs that you can see right there. Her legs are very long. And so those are the main reasons why I decided to sell her. She's actually already reserved for a family that already has a bunny for me. And then if I just show you her front legs, she does have good width there, no doubt about that, but as you can see the bone is fine, and just not something that I would want with a doe for my Rabbitry. Like you can see, like it's really fine here, and then with her siblings they had thicker bone. Dwight's bone is not super thick, but it's still nicer than hers, and baby's is quite thick. And so there you can see, and even from the front, she does have a round body, but it is a little more, it doesn't round off as nicely as her siblings do. She's a little longer right here. You can see it kind of slants instead of like carries over and then rounds. It's hard to explain if you're not a Holland Lop person or a Netherland Dwarf person or something like that. It's hard to explain, but I'll show you the two books that I recommend if you are raising Holland Lops that talk about what a Holland Lop is supposed to look like and really what I get all my information from about the faults and the strengths on my rabbits, and I'll even go back and read through them when I need a refresher or if I'm confused about something on one of my rabbits. I'll go back and read through them, and those books are The Standard of Perfection by the ARBA and a guidebook written by the Holland Lop Rabbit Specialty Club. Alright, here are those books I was just talking about. This is The Standard of Perfection, which is published by the ARBA and updated every 4 years or so. As you can see, this one goes until 2020. And then in 2020 they'll update it and add new breeds if any new breeds have been added or anything like that. So this book is actually, I recommend you get it even if you don't raise Holland Lops, even if you don't raise rabbits and you raise cavies. Because it has all of the recognized cavie breeds in here, like in colored pictures, all the recognized rabbits, as you can see here. So if you raise a recognized breed of rabbit, this book is what you need to have to talk about rabbit qualities. It's everything you need to know about what a Holland Lop or any rabbit that's recognized or any cavie that's recognized, what you need to know about showing it and breeding it to produce better offspring. And this one has all the disqualifications listed, all kinds of stuff like that. And then for Holland Lops, I recommend you get the Holland Lop Rabbit Specialty Club Guide, which looks like this. It's a binder, and it has everything in here, and you can see just some of the contents. Like there's tons of stuff in here, so much stuff. Stuff about showing, health and disease, not all about what the rabbit is supposed to look like, although they have that as well. Starting out, judging, breeding and culling, all kinds of stuff like that. There's actually pictures in here about what a specific quality should look like, whereas in the Standard of Perfection, it just talks about stuff, you know, like, oh, they should have thick bone. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? This goes more into depth about what thick bone on a Holland Lop would look like and stuff like that with color pictures and everything. And so this is super, super helpful. It's free when you join the Holland Lop Rabbit Specialty Club. And I believe it's only $12 for a youth to join, and then I think $20 for an adult. So it's super, super cheap, or it's even cheaper than that, I'm not recalling. But I'm going to have the links to these clubs and where you can buy these books or get these books in the description box below, so you guys can check them out, because these are just invaluable. Alright, so now that I've got that out of the way, I wanted to introduce the video with that, but you know, whatever. So now that I have that out of the way, I'm going to show you guys Thunder and Rain, who are babies of Heidi and Tucker. And again, I'll have the page down below where you guys can find all of the rabbits, all the parents that I mentioned. Alright, so this is Rain that I have with me right now. And she is a girl. She's quite nice. Definitely baby is the nicest of all the 5 babies that I had this round. She's a little skittish right now. Usually she poses quite well, but you can see she has pretty good bone. It's thick. It's a little long, but definitely something that she can grow into, and it's not as bad as her brothers and Honeydews that I showed you, and it's still thick. Like, her brother has thick bone, but it's just so long, and then Honeydew just has really, really thin, long bone. And then with her, she has a super round body, like her dad, and she just has so many qualities from her dad that I just love. So she has a really round body. She does sit still on her own when she wants to, when she's not being a pain. But she has nice ears. She has a really nice crown. If you can see, like, I can't even fit a finger in between her crown and her eye, in between her ear and her eye. Her crown is just right up where it should be. Her ears are a little bit long, but like I said, being this age, there are some things she'll grow into. And then I am keeping Rain for now, and you can see her bone is a little shorter and quite thick. Not as thick as I would like, not as thick as her dad's definitely, but still quite thick. Then you can see she's posing on her own now. She does have pretty good width in between her front legs. It's not as good as Baby's for sure, but it's pretty good. But yeah, she has good width between her eyes and her head. And then yeah, good ears, little long, but they're a good shape. And yeah, she's looking nice so far. So she's one that I'm also watching. And then I'll show you her brother. This is Thunder, who is up for reservation right now. He hasn't been sold yet. And right now he just has very cottony baby fur, which is kind of weird. I usually don't get babies that have just this fluffy of baby fur. But his dad was similar. So that's him, but he just hates to pose. The number one thing about him is he has a low head mount. And what that means is that with pretty much all the others, their head sat on top of their shoulders. They were able to hold their head up very easily, and his head is just not made that way. So he's never going to pose very well. And there's like this gap. If you can kind of see, like when I do kind of get him into shape, he's not going to be able to hold it himself. And there's kind of a gap right here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's just because his head is just lower on his body, like you can see right here. His head is just like more connected to his chest instead of like up on his shoulders as it should be. And then you can see his bone is pretty thick, but his legs are very long. So you can see the ankles that I'm talking about, where his leg is more like shaped like this rather than like this, if you know what I'm saying. So yeah, those are just like, he has a nice round body, but like I said, most of my rabbits have the nice body. So he needs to have something like he needs to have a good bone. He needs to have a head that's up here. He needs to be able to sit. If he can't sit, then I can't keep a rabbit that can't sit. So he's going to be sold as a pet also. He also kind of looks like a donkey to me because of how long his ears are. His sister's ears are quite long too, but his just don't balance very well with his head. I think it's kind of funny. Yeah, he's not going to sit, but he's just a super sweet boy. He's really gentle. He just likes cuddling. Isn't he cute? He just has big ears. I think they're so fun. Alright, so that's pretty much all I have to show you guys today. So many of you requested this video, and I know you're all going to be so excited when I finally post it, because I've been talking about making this video for like 6 months or something crazy like that, and just with every litter I would forget or procrastinate or something like that. But thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because I have a couple other really exciting videos that I'm going to share with you. And you can also click the bell right next to the subscribe button if you want to get notified when I post new videos. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.